Hello guys, welcome back to our Fanfic Hub channel. In this video we are gonna see, what if Naruto x Yang x Melanie x Miltia. Part 1. Huge shout out to NeonZangetsu for this story. If you want more awesome fan fiction like this, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. So without wasting any time, let's get into the video. Someone had stolen her seat. Nobody stole Yang Xiaolong's seat. There were lines you just didn't cross. And this was one of them. Even from this distance she could see the cheeky bastard's back, clad in threadbare black and orange rags that stuck out even in the flashing lights of Junior's club. Ugh. No fashion sense at all, this one. What she couldn't see was his face. From this angle she saw what might only the rear of his head, framed by dirty blonde hair. Really dirty. Like he'd fallen into a mud puddle and summarily been run over by a pack of angry Beowulf kind of dirty. She couldn't think of any other way to describe him. As far as first impressions went, it certainly wasn't the best one. She hadn't even truly met the lout yet and she already wanted to knock him out. A muscle jumped in her jaw. She forced it to subside. No, bad Yang. She hissed at herself. Don't smash. Smashing is bad. She just wanted to talk with him. Loudly. Repeatedly. With her firsts. All around her the club heaved with people enjoying their weekend, but really now, what kind of name was the club? Honestly. Junior really didn't have any imagination. Forcing the exasperated blonde to thread her way haphazardly through the swaying masses as she made her way toward the bar proper. Heavy bass music throbbed in her ears, deafening her to all else as she stormed forward. Pulsating lights had her squinting through a dry haze while she waited. Someone bumped into her in the crowd, nearly knocking her down. Watch it, Blondie. Lilac eyes snapped to them, and they subsided with a whimper. Under any other circumstances Yang might have pitied the poor bastard sitting in her seat. That or tried to stand downwind of him. Now. Not so much. If he didn't move by the time she reached him. Well, she was a lady after all. She'd give him one chance to haul his sorry keister out of her seat. After that she made no promises. Ember Celica twitched on her wrists as she crept closer, armed and ready. She'd come here looking for information on Raven. But it seemed someone had beaten her to the punch. Said someone was in her seat, chatting up Junior, and more importantly wasting her time. Could this night get any worse? Spoilers. It absolutely did. As she looked on, the man in question slid a strawberry sunrise across the counter to him. Hey. First her seat, then her info broker, now her strawberry sunrise. This meant war. Lilac eyes blazed as she bowled her way forward. Junior considered himself a good judge of character. Some might call it foresight, magic, perhaps even a semblance. When in truth, it was neither of those, was merely a unique skill of his, one Hai had acquired over a storied career in the underworld. You didn't get to be where Hai Xiong, leader of the Red Axe gang, without being able to read people, much less situations. He prided himself at being able to read an individual merely at a glance. For the most part, he could tell the innocent from the guilty, dangerous from harmless, and so on. Couldn't run a club, much less a gang. Without that kind of know-how. Information was his forte, and he knew it well. Why, one might even call it a career of his. He knew nearly everything that went on in Vale. For a small fee, he supplied said information to those who wanted to learn. So, yes. Hai Xiong was adept at reading people. But this. Here. Right now. This had bad news written all over it. His sixth sense was shrieking bloody murder at him, telling him to give this latest client whatever the hell he wanted, grab the twins, pack up shop, and run for the hills. There was just one problem. The info he was looking for. Hai didn't have it. Friggin' lunatic. He didn't seem to get that, however. He'd stumbled into his club hours ago and been rambling ever since. Honestly, he'd given him a strawberry sunrise on the house just to shut him up for a few seconds. It hadn't worked, of course. Nothing ever did. For the last time, what the hell are you talking about? He set down the glass he'd been cleaning to scowl at the battered young man leaning against a bar before him. Shinobi. Elemental nations. You're barking up the wrong tree here, pal. I've never heard of those things. So? What do you know? Whiskered cheeks dimpled in a smile as he set the glass down, having drained it in a single gulp. I need information. It's really important. Not for the first time, Hai considered telling him to sod off. Also not for the first time, something in his gaze stopped him cold. This man had a well-traveled look to him, almost alarmingly so. If he didn't know better, he'd accuse him of being a huntsman. Impossible, of course. Not even huntsman students were this naive. They certainly weren't this chatty on a bloody Saturday. He didn't have time for this. The club was practically swaying with people tonight like a thing alive, and he was losing his patience. Right, then. Time for a different avenue of attack. This from the guy who lose like he got into a fight with Beowulf and lost. Blue eyes blinked back at him. What's that? Junior nearly dropped his glass. You? Not know what a Grimm is? Alright, the kid was having him on. Had to be. You wanna run that by me again? I'm not kidding. The stranger plunked himself back down on an empty bar stool. The hell's a Grimm? Junior stole another glance at the stranger's attire. His clothes were tattered and his headband battered, its metal worn to near smoothness by the passing of time. His jacket hadn't fared much better. Little more than orange-black rags now with barely a stitch of cloth between and no weapons to be seen. Any observer would have thought him foolish at best, suicidal at worst. Why else was someone walking around in bloody rags like those? Surely only a fool would willingly wear such a thing. A fool indeed. Or a madman. Perhaps he was both. Blasted, the kid was talking again. Look, buddy. I've been asleep for, well, a while, and I kinda woke up here. Still, that smile never wavered from those whiskered cheeks. Well, not here, but you know what I mean. He wrinkled his nose and clicked his tongue as though he tasted something incredibly foul. Woke up underground. Had to tear my way out of the street and everything. He sat up a little straighter and something flashed in those bright blue eyes of his. 10,000 years can given you such a crick in the neck, man. His neck twisted with an sharp pop that had high wincing. I really just want to get out of here. I threw his arms up. Then why are you still sitting there? I'm here because someone told me to come here. His smile brightened even more. He said you know everything. Well, tell me how to get back to the Leaf Village and I'll be on my way. And who, pray tell, he all but snarled, is this someone? He got a name? Some guy named Roman. The blonde threw out a shrug, heedless of the aggravated noise he made. He told me to come here. Real nice fella. Hope nothing bad happens to him. Junior pinched the brow of his nose and ruthlessly bit down on the urge to scream for what felt like the umpteenth time. There it was again. Another migraine calling his name. Torchwick. Of course. Cheeky bastard. This had his fingerprints all over it. Right. That settled it. He was a dead man walking. Hey. Another blonde not at all like the first. Butted in between them, lilac eyes sharp and angry. Just how long are you two gonna talk? I've been here all night. Not another one. I'm sorry, much to Junior's surprise, the whiskered one actually capitulated. You look angry. Am I in your seat? The buxom blonde planted a fist on her hip and tapped her right foot. You are, actually. Oh. He offered a rueful chuckle. Here, I'll move. Lilac eyes widened. Just like that. Yup. Quick as you please, he hopped out of his seat and made way for her. Blondie didn't bother him. She simply sashayed past to reclaim what was rightfully hers. Junior's gaze shifted. The kid was scrawny, he didn't look like he could flatten the club with her bare hands. The broad did. She had that air about her. A huntress or one in training at least. TCH, blasted blondes. That settled it. In lieu of their names which he still didn't know. He was calling them Blonde and Blondie. At least Blondie had a nice rack. Hey. Eyes up here. And he'd been caught starting. Crap. Listen, Hai coughed into a fist and quickly averted his gaze. Info ain't free, kid. You'll have to pay up. 2,500 lean, and I'll see what I can do. Take it or leave it. Blondie whistled, lilac eyes wide. Ain't that kinda expensive? He's been here most of the night. Junior crossed both arms before his broad chest. At this point, I'm charging extra for my pain and suffering. Frankly, he didn't know what the hell a Leaf Village was, but at this point he was willing to take the kid's lean just to be rid of him. Well, that's the thing. The whiskered blonde looked aside and scratched a tan cheek. I don't have any money. Junior growled at that and he looked back, decidedly sheepish. Didn't have any when I sealed the 10 tails into myself 100,000 years ago, and unless civilization started to operate on favors while I was away. It doesn't. The blonde girl put in helpfully. Then I've got nothing. He shrugged weakly. Sorry. I was kinda hoping you'd do me a solid. Junior's right eye began to twitch. The left soon joined it. His entire face began to darken, turning an ominous shade of red. Slowly at first, hardly noticeable, really. No one heard him grind his teeth over the music. Right, that torrid. Blonde and now Blondie over there had worn down his last nerve. He was in no mood for a wild goose chase. Never mind whatever this was. His clenched fist slammed down on the bar, fracturing the glass. What do you think we are, a charity? Both blondes blinked at him. Yes. That's it. You. He stabbed a finger at the whiskered blonde, all but jabbing him in the nose. Out. Hey. You can't just toss him out. One more word and you're outta here, too. Me? Blondie squawked back at him. I just got here. Don't care. Miltia. Melanie. He snapped his fingers, summoning his strongest fighters. Take our guest outside. He's overstayed his welcome. By clockwork, the twins materialized on either side of the blonde, striking silhouettes in red and white. As one, they moved to hem him in, denying him any chance of escape. Blonde only sighed. Usually this was the part where perps showed fear. Milt and Mel weren't huntresses by any stretch of the imagination, but they were still a damn sight better than most of the goons in his gang. And yet the stranger barely batted an eyelash. This really isn't necessary. He frowned at them. I haven't done anything wrong. Come on, Whiskers. Melanie latched onto his left arm, eyes in with mirth. Time to go. You heard her. Militia claimed his right, claws scraping across his arm. We can do this easy way or the hard way. Your choice. He frowned, looking very much like a kicked puppy. But where am I supposed to go? Oh no. Don't care. Junior scoffed. Anywhere but here. It was the wrong thing to say. Because the young man twisted out of the twins' grasp and rounded on him. Look, you really don't want to do this. There it was, that flicker in his eyes again to set high on edge. I'm tired, I'm hungry, I've had a hell of a day. And you're making me angry. His back straightened a touch and he suddenly realized how tall the kid was. You wouldn't like me when I'm angry. Just tell me how to get home and I'll be on my way. Do that and I'll never darken your door again. He made strange gesture with his right hand. I swear. Scout's honor. I don't think so, blonde boy. Girls. The twins approached. Fine, the whiskered youth rolled his shoulders in a shrug as they moved to flank him again. Have it your own way. His smile returned, just the wrong shade of annoyed. And my name ain't blonde. From the shadows of a tattered sleeve right hand rose, and idly high noticed it ended in a ragged stump just below the elbow. My name is Naruto. Hooded eyes rose to regard him. And you brought this on yourself. Remember that. All around them, the air boiled. Kurama. Cloak. Something answered. Copy. Contrary to his words, Naruto didn't don a cloak. Not at all. It was more akin to say he simply burned. One moment he looked like some crazy murder hobo straight off the streets, in the next he became a gilded glowing avatar of death. Before their very eyes his body blazed an almighty shade of burning amber, rimmed with black markings about his head and shoulders. A strange rippling heat rose off his body, shimmering across a smile that seemed wider than ever before. The golden arm sprouted from his ruined stump to complete the ensemble, clawed fingers flexing lazily. Alright. When next he spoke, his voice thrummed with that of another. We can do this the easy way or the hard way. Melanie surged forward with a snarl. Don't you mock us. That unholy golden arm reared around and caught Melanie's leg as her bladed heel swept toward his skull. Long lashes fluttered in a rapid blink as she balked at him. Unable to balance herself, she threw a wild punch his way. It wasn't blocked by aura. Instead the blonde took it dead on his headband. She balked. No aura. But that's impossible, ow. Hey. He reeled her in by the ankle and his forehead pressed against hers, his face now frightfully close. That wasn't very nice. Her mind short-circuited and her tongue betrayed her in spectacular fashion. You have nice eyes. Thanks. He beamed. Now clench your teeth. This is gonna hurt. Why me? The vicious twist of the wrist upended Melanie and sent the slight girl crashing into then through a pillar with a strangled yelp. Shards of broken glass flew everywhere, sending guests scurrying for cover. Simultaneously, his human hand snared Miltia's claws before she could avenge her sister and run him through. Red eyes met green, and the duo descended into a whirl of motion that lasted all of 3 seconds. One that ended when Miltia crashed backward over the counter and slammed into bar. Bottles shattered. Alcohol stained the floor. Junior swore and reached below the bar for his weapon. Damn kid. You'll regret that. Burning eyes seared into his, burning with the intensity of 1,000 suns. A finger stabbed out at him. Stay. Filling intent struck Junior like a physical force. Every muscle in his body locked up as one. Each and every cell united in singular fear. For a moment he saw something. Beheld a terrible glowing vulpine skull looming over the boy's shoulders. He stared into the abyss and abyss stared back, grinning at him with terrible teeth. And 9 tails. No. 10. He couldn't look away. It had him by the soul now, and every second ground his mind down that much further. Monster. He was a monster. What the hell had been unleashed in Vale? Naruto saw his expression and took pity on him. A golden finger stabbed down and broke the spell. Sit. Junior sat. He slumped to the floor wide-eyed and terrified. Indeed, he was still sitting when someone walked up behind Naruto, grabbed him by a shoulder, and spun him around. Hey. Yang Xiaolong growled at him, her smile decidedly strained. There was glass in her golden mane. Thanks for the show. You ruined my hair, though. As if to punctuate that very statement, a few stray strands of gold fell to the floor. Gotta kill you now. The smile became a scowl. Nothing personal. Clenched knuckles barreled into Naruto's face at breakneck speed. He caught them in an open palm. Not so the shockwave that followed. Lights burst and glass absolutely flew in every direction, flattening those foolish few who hadn't fled, henchmen and clubgoer alike. High above, the music cut off with an ugly squawk as the DJ toppled down from his booth. Not one to be deterred, Yang planted her feet and threw a second punch, only to find her haymaker intercepted by another. Hey, that's much better. Blonde grinned back at Blondie, red eyes meeting red. You fight pretty good. I actually felt that. You won't be feeling anything when I'm done with you. Yang pushed back against him, gone livid. Hold still. Blondie and Blondie collided like a freight train as Junior sat there, stunned, reeling from it all. This just wasn't his night. No. This was insane. What had he done to deserve this? He whimpered a little as the two began to sack what little was left of his club. Surely one of them had to grow tired sooner or later. Right. This couldn't possibly end well. She'd never felt so alive. Yang felt a laugh tear out of her. At some point their little spat had turned into an outright punch-out. They traded hits like champions, roundhouses and haymakers, wild swing left and right with reckless abandon. She boxed, and her fellow blonde boxed right back, giving as good as he got. Every strike was meant to break bones and shatter sinew, mangle muscle and crush cartilage. No mercy was given, and unexpected. Her head snapped back as his fist crashed through her aura to strike her dead in the face. She'd have a black eye tomorrow. Ruby would ask questions. Worth it? Truly, she couldn't remember the last time she'd fought someone who could match her, exceed her even. She loved it. Adored it. Every bloody bit of it. How much time had passed? Minutes. Hours. She'd lost track of the time well and truly, and she did not care. Come on, Whiskers. That all you got? She whirled, Ember Celica barked, and the blonde grunted as her first thundered into his cheek. He pushed past it and kicked out, sending her sprawling. She shoved herself back up and bounded in once more with a roar, one her fellow blonde mirrored. The night was long, and she was nowhere near finished with him. He certainly wasn't with her. It was the beginning of a beautiful friendship. Yang could fight. A short, sharp burst of laughter sprang from Naruto's lips as she crashed into him. Rather than flee like any sane individual would, he took her tackle head on and allowed her to ram him into a wall. Breath burst from his lungs, but his smile never faded. Even as her golden gauntlets barked against his golden body, ramming a raw round of dust against his ribs. The impact barely even tickled. Although it did draw a smile to his whiskered cheeks. He raised both hands over his head and clasped his fingers together. The interlocked digit swung up and slammed down into her back like a piston. Yang flinched. Still grinning, he repeated the motion. Once. Twice. Thrice. On the fourth strike she finally released him with a gasp. Ow. She recoiled, hissing as she clutched at her shoulders. That shit hurt. Not as much as this will. She rounded just in time to meet his clenched knuckles. The blow caught her just under her stomach and bore her down into the ground, cratering the club floor beneath. An angry snarl greeted him, but he didn't give her time to rise. A second swing sent them hurtling down into the depths of the building, then into the cellar proper. Poor Junior. His wine would never be the same. Even as they fell they fought, trading blows like a pair of golden demons. For all her fiery fury, Yang Xiaolong moved with speed and ability well beyond her years. She fought harder than both the Malachite twins combined, and bleary as he was from centuries of sleep, she actually managed to press him. A little. It still didn't save her. The very moment they hit the ground she dove at him again. To which he caught her by the ankle and whipped her through a towering cask of ale. Sure enough the wooden barrel ruptured as she crashed through, then came out sputtering on the other side, soaked in alcohol. That wild golden mane hung over her face for a moment before she reached down and pulled it aside. Her smile never faltered, even for a moment. Despite her soaked hair and ruined clothes, she looked more alive than he'd ever seen anyone. She swayed but a little, raised her fists, and bounced on her heels. It did. Fascinating things to her chest. What, is that it? She grinned at him. That all you got, Whiskers? Hashirama whistled in his head. I think I'm in love. Feelings mutual. With a roar born of equal parts fury and glee, Yang slammed her gauntlets behind her back. At first, Naruto couldn't quite comprehend what she was doing. Why throw her weapons back like that? Had she given up? But no, they barked dust and threw her forward like a golden meteor. He moved to evade, but his foot slipped on the slick floor, throwing him off. Yang showed no mercy. Her fist caught his cheek and launched him through a second tank, then a third, followed by a third, and finally a fourth. Drenched in Junior's whiskey and ale alike, he thrashed to his feet, coughing and sputtering. Okay, he groaned. I deserved that. Think I swallowed a little. Why was the room spinning? Alright, maybe he'd gulped down more than a bit. The room kept swaying, even when he stood still. Was this what it felt like to be tipsy? Weird. He'd never experienced it before. His high metabolism never allowed it. The one time he tried, he burned right through the stuff. But quantity had a quality all its own. Still it wasn't an unpleasant feeling, just strange. Speak for yourself. Yang rocked forward and he blurred to meet her. Their fists collided anew, rattling the ceiling above. Both blondes looked up. Yang found her wits first and pushed forward to grapple with him. Naruto met her in kind. Fists threaded into fingers as they caught one another in turn. Their foreheads slammed together. Boots bit into the floor, digging deep trenches against the stone as they strove against one another. Lidded lilac eyes met blazing blue. Where have you been all my life? Sleeping under a rock. His head reared back and struck hers. She mirrored the motion and did the same to him. Chakra roared. Aura snarled. Naruto reeled back with a laugh. He wasn't fully awake. Not entirely recovered from centuries of sleeping. And this simply wasn't his era. He realized that now, and the notion brought him no small amount of sorrow. For better or worse, his world had changed while he slumbered. Under normal circumstance he would be angry about that. Waking to find everything and everyone he'd ever loved was gone. Strange as it might sound, Yang was helping. She wasn't trying to killing him, nor he, her. If anything, they were stalling, drawing out the fight to see who could last longer. Brawling like this was more cathartic than anything else. It helped to bleed off all the stress, anger and misery he'd been feeling since he woke up. Better yet, it was healthy. Well, healthier than crawling into the bottom of a bottle at any rate. Rah! Yang reared back and bit his neck, teeth sinking into the tender flesh just above his shoulder. Naruto yelped in a rare moment of surprise and kicked back, driving a knee into her gut. She made him pay for it. His head snapped to the side as she got another good hit in. At his peak, he could have dodged that. But he didn't. Instead, he let the pain roll over him. Center him. His knee slammed up and she met it with one of her own, wincing but a little. He felt a flash of guilt. One that vanished as. Don't stop. That's right. This is real. His forehead struck hers and sent her tumbling. I'm alive again. I'll be back to full strength in no time. Ember Celica barked and he dipped out of its path, evading her weapon with ease. Focus on the fight. Not the past. Let it all out. Now let's kick things up a notch. Let it all out. They met in a whirlwind of fists, a drunken dance that had neither rhyme nor reason, a wild waltz that only left destruction in its wake. A brawl like this helped more than she could possibly imagine. Cleared the air, you know. He slapped a burning fist aside, then countered with one of his own. Yang's feet lifted from the floor before she hit back twice as hard. What kind of ability was that? He actually felt pain. Was this why Lee and Guy were always so gung-ho when it came to taijutsu? It felt good. Really good. Maybe it was the alcohol talking, but he wanted more. No. He needed more. She just hit you? What are you going to do about it? His grin was just the wrong shade of vicious. Hit her harder. He swung his arms up and smashed Yang through the ceiling. Powerful legs tensed and he leaped up after the flailing blonde with a roar. Instantly, he felt he was forgetting something. Or rather, someone. Wasn't he? Meh. Probably nothing too important in any case. He'd remember if it was. The brawl awaited. Junior was out of his league. One didn't run a criminal empire on pride alone. You had to be smart. You had to know when to hold him and when to fold him. He was no huntsman. He knew that. Still, he knew he wasn't a slouch. He could hold his own in a fair fight, at least for a little while. Thrown down with the best of them, even. Granted, it did mean he would win, but he'd put up at least a little fight. But this was madness. He'd been beaten in an instant. Laid low by a look with the twins besides. And there wasn't a damn thing he could do about it. The deafening crash shook the club once more, drawing a wince from the battered man. Stop blowing holes in my club. If either blonde heard him, they did precious little to show it. Probably couldn't even hear him down there, the cheeky little shits. Every attack shook the building from top to bottom. A near constant quake that threatened to bring the very building down on their heads. They'd crash down into the cellars and not come out since no wait. He told a lie. There they were. With neither word nor warning, Blondie Yang sailed upright through a gaping hole in the floor, body bent double, long hair thrashing in the wind. She was still airborne when her fellow blonde caught her with a roundhouse kick. One that launched her out of the club entirely. Neither returned. A distant explosion confirmed his greatest hope. They'd taken their fight elsewhere. Junior looked left. Junior looked right. Junior folded like a wet noodle. Melanie's head poked up over the bar. Is it finally over? Miltia joined her a heartbeat later. Are they gone? Yeah, he all but croaked out the word. I think they left. One last blast barely rocked the floor, rattled the broken glass there. He dared to hope. Wherever those two had gone, they were far, far from here. Thank the brothers for small miracles. Bloody powerhouse. He tossed his girls around like nothing and fended off that other one with ease. Fast, too. Really fast. He'd never seen someone move like that. Not even her. Unbidden, a thought occurred to him. Hai Xiong sat up just a little straighter against the ruined bar. If they had a powerhouse like that on their side, well, things might turn around for the Xiong clan. Maybe they could even use him to get out from under the thumb of that wretched fire witch. Roman might actually thank him for that. Once he finished wringing the thief's neck. And yet, the more he thought of it, the more his mind began to warm to the idea. How to go about it? They couldn't beat him a fight, fair or otherwise. He'd proven that much already. Moreover, they had nothing he wanted. Not information, not leverage, nothing at all. Or did they? Junior's gazed straight to the twins. They'd put up a decent fight. Whiskers had even shown interest in them. It was a long shot among long shots, a risky gamble that might well blow up in his face. But what did he have to lose? Nothing at all. And yet, if his gambit succeeded, if by some miracle this 1 in a million wager paid off, Junior came to a conclusion. Seduce that bastard if it's the last thing you do. Miltia and Melanie exchanged a wry look. That's not very likely. Without word of warning, their brawl came to an end. It wasn't planned on either of their parts. Naruto and Yang had long since left the club behind to engage in something of a running battle through the city streets. Each gave as good as they got, but it had to come to an end sooner or later. A mistimed block on Yang's part left her wide open, and Naruto capitalized on it. Burning knuckles seared past his face as he stepped in. His arm snapped back, and he had a brief moment to relish the flicker of surprise that burned through her now crimson eyes. Then a vicious rabbit punch struck her skull and left her spinning into the street. Ow. She went down with a gasp and landed on her rear. Hey, no fair. That was a cheap shot. All's fair in love and war. Something in him saw that as a victory, petty though it was. Ha. He pumped a fist into the air, slurring his words only a little. I win. I win Ak. Yang was a sore loser. Who knew? Not he. Because he was wholly unprepared as she yanked at an ankle and sent him spilling down into the street. His head kissed an upturned water pipe and stars burst before his vision. For a moment, just a moment. His vision went white. Yang took full advantage of his brief blindness and landed atop him, straddling her hips against his. Not bad, Whiskers. She gasped the words out. Haven't had a fight like that in a while. Naruto groaned weakly. I aim to please. Sure do. She granted him a tipsy grin. Why'd you say it around too? Probably a bad idea. All that alcohol was finally getting to him. His head ached abominably and. Come here, you. Something told him that wasn't what she meant. Yang leaned forward, cupping his face in her hands. Golden hair tickled his nose, and Naruto stubbornly clamped down on a sneeze. Perhaps they were both punch drunk. Maybe it was the tanks they'd crashed through. They were, the both of them, soaked in whiskey right about now. He could scarcely think, let alone bring himself to react in time. He tried to prop himself up on one arm, but she shoved him back down. Her forehead touched his, and their noses brushed. Surely she wasn't going to. Nope, she was. Something warm and soft pressed against his lips, light as a feather's touch and gone thrice as fast. He blinked up at her, mind gone blank. His first kiss it most assuredly was not repressed the memory. But it left him reeling all the same. Wah. Yang leaned back and wiped her mouth with a cheery hiccup. And there's your reward. She swayed a little atop him, eyes bleary as her hips ground against his. Care for another? She's definitely drunk. Feels like I am too. Nah, we're hick fine. Damn it, Kurama. She didn't give him a chance to answer. For she leaned down again. Her mouth molded against his, head tilting for a better angle. And something stirred in Naruto. Rather, something awoke. But the vengeance. Funny thing about alcohol. It doesn't just lower inhibitions. It absolutely shatters them. Despite his own initial reservations, the buzzed blonde found himself responding. His hands rose to cup her waist, holding her steady. Yang made a pleased noise against his mouth and pushed against him. This close, he could smell her. She reeked of whiskey of course, but with it came the faint scent of fire and lilacs. It was a strange smell, intoxicating and deadly. He wanted more. Alright, Frisky. Yang pulled away, batted his hands back with a laugh. That's enough. She hiccuped again, slurring her words. Gonna do something. Ah. Her words peaked into a startled cry when he pursued her. Gasping as his lips alighted on her neck, stupid at this rate. Hey, come on. She mewed a little when he didn't cease. Quit it. You're riling me up, damn it. Stupid sounded really good right about now. His trousers were uncomfortably tight and she was so warm, so soft. When her hands fisted against his jacket and started to play with it, he knew he had to stop. Any further and he'd really do something foolish. He gave her a nudge and she toppled back. Too close. I almost. Geez. This is why I shouldn't drink. With a groan, he turned his gaze back to Yang. She'd not budged from her place in his lap. He didn't want to move her. No doubt she'd have a hellish hangover come morning. As would he. Hard to believe all this started over a few strands of hair. In hindsight it seemed almost silly. Downright childish even. Friendships and rivalries had been formed from less. And more. Women were crazy. He didn't know what to make of her. But he could at least do something. I'm sorry about your hair. He winced and reached up toward her. Here. Lem fix it. He touched a marked hand to the side of her face, regrowing the golden locks in no time at all. It was like flicking a switch. She leaned back and those scarlet slits flicked back into lilac as her grin regained some of its luster. It did nothing for her glazed eyes. He nudged her back and she tumbled off him, still looking every bit like the cat that caught what was the bird again? Ah. Right. The canary. That was the one. Damn, you throw a mean right hook. She grimaced, rubbing her jaw. Not even Uncle Crow punches that hard. You wouldn't happen to know a woman named Raven, would you? Naruto tilted his head at her and frowned. What, like a bird? Yang grimaced. Don't ask about the name. He winced as his stomach protested violently. Can I ask about food instead? She balked back at him. What, seriously? You haven't eaten all day? His stomach growled anew. Not really. Does whiskey count? His fellow blonde beat her head at him, regarding him like a wary dragon. Her thoughts remained a mystery, but eventually she seemed to reach a decision. She didn't so much stand as she did stagger her way over to him, and even then she nearly fell again, only narrowly catching herself on the way. Still, she made it to his side. Come on, Whiskers. I pay my debts. She reached down, grabbed him by the hand and hoisted him upright. Let's get you something to eat. It'll be my treat. Lidded eyes regarded him. Maybe even a little more. Yup. Definitely buzzed. Still, food. After all this. Yes, please. Naruto let himself be tugged along, leaning against her but a little. Well, if you're buying. Sirens wailed in the distance, cutting him short. Yang froze like a deer in the headlights. Naruto slammed into her back and nearly knocked her over. When she didn't move he turned to follow her gaze, only to see yet more of those strange metal vehicles from before. A number of them blocked the road ahead. Those were a lot of lights. Why were they coming closer? Oh, crap. Cops. His fellow brawler winced. Might have to get a rain check on that meal. Despite Naruto's best efforts, an angry whine escaped him. Nuo. Yang squeezed his palm gently, swaying but a little. She hiccuped, I'm sure it'll be fine. An angry officer burst out of a car. You're both under arrest. It was not fine. Not at all. Nope. Well, this is unfortunate. No, Yang sniped from her cot, you think? Naruto furrowed his brow as he regarded the ceiling of their cell. Is that all you have to say? Yow, a great kisser. Rarg. A pillow pelted his face, momentarily muffling his grin. Still the blonde kept both hands folded behind his head as he considered the ceiling above. Maybe it was the booze. Because he was still feeling rather calm after all that. Perhaps even a little too calm. An almost pleasant haze had fallen over his thoughts. With all that anger and frustration out of his system, he felt quite nice, actually. As if he were lying on a warm rock sunning himself on a mild summer day. Speaking of warm. You know, you fight pretty good. Yang flopped down beside him with a grin and yanked the pillow off his face. Gave me a black eye and everything. Right back at ya. He chortled a little. Weren't you angry with me a second ago? A little. She confessed, crossing both legs beneath her. I got over it. Better out than in, I always say. Sides, she flicked his side, we're stuck in here together. Might as well get comfortable. The blonde brow beeped. She smacked at his chest. Down, boy. The other brow rose to match the first. You started it. DCH. Her face turned a lovely shade of red as she looked away. You've got an answer for everything, don't you? I try. His gaze swept back to their cage once more, considering it. If this was what passed for a cell in this world, it was woefully inadequate. Those bars were frail and rusted by time. They wouldn't hold Yang, let alone him. He could walk right out of here and no one would be able to stop him. He was almost tempted to at that. If only because he was still freaking hungry and his promised meal had yet to materialize. Blast it, he really needed to eat something. You do realize we could break out of here. We could, he allowed, but I don't want to be hounded by the police at every turn. They wouldn't be a threat to him, but he'd have to put them down to discourage pursuit. Put them down hard and without killing at that. Pretty sure that would make him a criminal. He didn't want to spend his second life flitting from place hounded by bounty hunters and the like. He wanted to enjoy it. This era seemed to be at peace for the most part. Might as well enjoy it, no? Hey, Yang chimed suddenly, capturing his attention once more, you're going to Beacon, right? Beacon? Naruto pivoted to regard her from where he lay. The hell's a beacon? Really playing up the whole country bumpkin angle, ain't ya? Her elbow nudged him in the ribs. Didn't even tickle. Come on, stop joking. With skills like yours you've gotta be headed there. Her brow furrowed anew as she considered him again. Unless you're already one. Nah, no chance. She tossed her head from side to side, sending her hair swaying. Too young. Oh, sweet summer child. You have no idea. No, really. The whiskered warrior sat up. What in blazes is a beacon? I literally have no idea what you're talking about. Wait, for real? Wide lilac eyes regarded him intently. Narrowed. You've been living under a rock or something? Yes. He flung up his hands. Why is that so hard to understand? I was literally asleep for years. Her brow furrowed. What, were you in a coma or something? You know what? Fine. Let her misunderstand. This was giving him a headache. And it wasn't far from the truth. He was in a coma. Technically. He'd slept for a terribly long time. Maybe it would have been better if he never woke up at all. If he simply continued to dream endlessly beneath the earth. But there could be no going back to that now. For better or worse, he was awake and the deed was done. Sure. Let's go with that. Alright, champ. She slapped his back with a cheeky grin. Next you're gonna tell me you don't know what a scroll is. The silence was telling. What the actual hell? Did you lose your memories too? Naruto shrugged. Let her roll with it. Easier than explaining all this tripe. Geez, that sucks. I'm serious, though. His fellow blonde scooted a bit closer until her hips brushed his. You've got talent to fight me to a standstill like that. Added restraint. If he hadn't held back, Yang would have been a pretty red smear on the ground. He tried not to think about that. Probably best for everyone if he kept tabs on his strength for now. Unwilling to broach that particular subject, he opted to steer the conversation to safer waters. This beacon of yours. He frowned at the name. Tell me about it. Sure thing, champ. Yang did her best. She'd never seen it firsthand, but she painted a grand picture all the same. A fine school for huntsmen and huntresses, a bastion of strength devoted to fighting off creatures called Grimm. Curiosity got the better of him, and he asked about those, too. She was more than happy to indulge him. Even if he sometimes felt like she was babying him a bit. It was a small price to pay to learn about the state of this world. But in the end, there was only so much Yang could tell him. Suo. The buxom rocked back on her legs. Having heard all that. What now? What do I want to do? I'm not really sure. Tan fingers drummed loosely against the floor. Already saved everyone once. Maybe I'll try to conquer the world with Raymond this time around. He waggled an eyebrow at her when she giggled. But me? Go to Beacon. Why would I want to do that? I already sat through school once. No way am I doing it again. You say that, but you haven't seen Beacon. She looped an arm around his shoulders. Just think about it, champ. That word again. His brow furrowed at her, eyes squinting intently. Why do you keep calling me that? Seems as good a nickname as any. Better than Whiskers. It's got some bite to it, you know. Hashirama preened a little. No, a lot. Heh. I'm starting to like this girl. You would? She's clearly stroking your ego. Naruto lifted his chin. Still not doing it. Fine. What about teaching? A guffaw burst out of him, short and sharp as he sprawled in her lap. Why would I? Then he frowned. Huh. Never really done that. Might have to think about that. Probably not. Don't think I'd have the patience for it. That's the point. She flung up her arms. You'd be an awesome teacher. And I'm starting to think you're just an enabler. The SSH, me? No. What would he even teach? He knew only the barest bones about Grimm and this world. Moreover, he didn't think the people here had chakra anymore. It seemed lost to time. Or maybe they hadn't, and their coils had fallen dormant by time and lack of use. Something to look into at a later date. This was his world after all, just changed by time and so many other things. Oddly enough, the notion calmed him. Hey. Kurama prodded him first. You thinking what I'm thinking? He was. If this is still our world. We could. Yes, we could. But do we want to? That was the question. On a whim, he cast a quick glance at Yang and stretched out his senses. What he found there nearly had him reeling back. She burned like a fire in mind, all bright and gold and sunny. There was certainly something to be seen there, but it didn't quite feel like chakra. What had she called it? Aura. Beneath that, a smaller flame, so tiny you had to squint. Their door swung open with a harsh clank, cutting his thoughts short. The weary-looking guard sauntered in, his blue uniform rumpled and creased. Naruto sniffed once, then frowned. The man smelled of stress and sweat. His eyes were a strange shade of silver, framed by a strong jawline with a messy mop of auburn hair going on gray. Strange combination. He looked like someone had browbeat him within an inch of his life, dragged him back, and done it again. Poor bastard took one look at them and shook his head. You lovebirds done in there? Belatedly, Naruto realized he was still leaning against Yang. She was warm. He didn't feel like moving just yet. Yeah. He stretched a little, drawing a flush from his fellow blonde as he squirmed. And you are? No one important. The guard jerked a thumb over his shoulder. You're free to go. Yang perked up. Already? But I only called Dad 5 minutes ago. Not you, Blondie. The guard pivoted and stabbed a finger at Naruto instead. You. Naruto tilted his head. Me? Now it was his turn to blink. I don't know anyone in this city with that kind of dough. Really? He didn't. Who the hell did that? Oh no. The man offered a helpless shrug. Some broad. Said she was a friend of yours, or something. That's the long and short of it. You leaving, or what? The woman? Pretty sure the only friend I have is her. He poked an elbow against Yang's side. Sorry. Aw, the brawler threw her arms around his neck. You do care. Look, pal. The guard sighed. We barely have enough room in our cells as is. I don't care, he jerked his chin at a grinning Yang, if that's your long-lost sister or your wife. Her smile died an ugly death. Wife. Wait. Too soon. My heart isn't ready. But your bail's been paid. He raised his voice over her frantic babbling. Which means someone else is sharing the cell with her. Either get out or we'll drag you out. A flicker of a smile touched the corner of Naruto's mouth. Yeah. You really don't want to do that. Then get. Naruto flicked a reluctant look over his shoulder. I'll be fine. Yang patted his arm thrice for good measure. Don't worry about me. Dad'll have me out in a jiffo. Lilac eyes widened. Flitted from one end of the cell to another. She gulped. On second thought, maybe you should scram while you can. He won't be happy to see you. Naruto squinted at her, unable to comprehend why, and feeling a little hurt for it. Why not? You're a boy. She said. And I'm his sunny little dragon. Realization slammed down like a guillotine. Oh. Dealing with an overprotective father wasn't on his to-do list tonight. Nope. He stood to leave. Wataminute. Yang burst up, grabbed him by his jacket and reeled him back in. One for the road. Her lips crushed against his, hard enough to bruise. Fast, hard, and quick. Just like her. She bit his lip as she pulled away, marking him. Naruto blinked once. Twice. Thrice, now. Blah. He managed eloquently. Yang flashed him a wink. See you around, champ. Then she shoved him out the cell. In the end, Naruto never found out who posted his bail. No one was waiting for him when he emerged from the police department. Not a soul. Only an empty street. He spied a child across the street playing with a doll made of straw. Nothing more. With that, released a breath he hadn't realized he'd been holding. Well. That was disappointing. Really, it was almost anticlimactic. And here he'd been expecting something like one of those old crime dramas. Someone tugged at his sleeve. He looked down to find the urchin gazing up at him. His gaze took her in at a glance. Her skin dirty and smudged with ash, her hair the darkest shade of midnight she'd ever seen. Her eyes were a striking shade of gold, like twin pits of poison honey. She told me to give you this, mister. They pressed a thin slip of paper into his hand. She paid well. His gaze snapped to the parcel, then back up. Wait, I don't. When he looked back, the girl was gone. Just. Gone. Not run around a corner, not slipped out of sight. Just gone. He shivered a little as a cold breeze whisked its way down the street. What little he wore didn't offer much in the way of protection. Powerful he may be, but even he wasn't immune to the cold. He craned his neck left, then right, straining for any sign of the girl. He found nothing and his brow furrowed. Weird. For lack of anything else to do, he unfolded the card and considered it for a moment. It wasn't white but red as blood itself. The writing within was proven clean and crisp, penned by a firm hand in dark ink. I saw your fight. Half the city saw it. You handled yourself well. Perhaps you'd like to make proper use of those talents. Warm regards. See. Well. That wasn't mysterious at all. Beneath the message lay a series of numbers. Naruto frowned anew. The hell was this? Some kind of code or something. Yang had said something about a scroll, but he didn't have one of those. What even was a scroll, anyway? She'd never told him that bit. Bah. Probably not important. He committed the sequence to memory, crushed the paper into a ball, and threw it over his shoulder without a second thought. Phew. Talk about a close call. Glad we got that sorted. Hashirama disagreed. You do realize Yang's father is going to be furious with you for leaving her in that cell. With me? He crossed both arms behind his head. Nah. This'll all blow over. Not like we did anything criminal. A jaw-popping yawn stopped him short. Although I wouldn't say no to finding a bed for the night. It's been a long day. And a while since we screwed around like that. His stomach offered a surly growl, turning his smile into a scowl. And I'm still hungry, damn it. Easier said than done. We have no money. Unless you're keen on picking pockets. Nah, just need somewhere to camp out for the night. He reasoned to himself. I'll explain everything in the morning. He had been asleep for so very long now. He wasn't exactly aware of the state of the world. The hour was late and the moon was full, shining down in all its shattered splendor. Well, that was new. Last he remembered, the moon wasn't busted up like that. Another thing that had been warped in his absence. He was a relic of a bygone age, woken to a world that both was and was not his own. Things had changed. And he had to change with them. The groan echoed in the back of his skull. In that case, wake me up 9 centuries from now. No. He mentally shook his partner awake. No sleeping. We already tried that. Sleeping wouldn't get them anywhere. Besides, he was awake now. Surely he'd woken for a reason. There had to be a reason. Maybe it was all that blasted digging. Maybe there was something he needed to do in this era, something, anything. If he'd genuinely woken on a fluke, the flip of a coin. What did that say about him? Or, a tiny little voice whispered, we could see where this takes us. We already saved the world once. Aren't we owed a bit of fun? Naruto nearly missed a step. It almost seemed selfish. But what else was there to do? There was no great evil to fight here, none that he knew of at any rate. He knew so little about this world. Maybe it was time to do a bit of digging. But where? When? It was late and he was tired for crying out loud. Until he made a plan, just going with the flow sounded as anything. Alright. He muttered to himself. Just go with the flow for now. I can do that. Rigged. Ah. Kurama snorted. You'll be saving the world by the end of the decade. Mark my words. In the end, Naruto's wandering path carried him somewhere most familiar. He recognized the club only by its sign. Most of the front had been sadly trashed. Its patrons were nowhere to be seen, though that was to be expected. A twinge of guilt plucked at his heart. He really did feel bad about smashing up the place. That guilt only intensified when he saw a familiar face brushing away a pile of debris near the entrance. Poor bastard looked positively haggard. Hey, buddy. Remember me? Shion looked up, broom in hand, and turned white as a sheet. Not you again. I really am sorry about what happened. He raised his hands to show himself unarmed. Let me make it up to you. Look, kid. Junior growled, unless you've got an army hiding under that coat of yours, I don't want to hear. Kurama sighed. That's low-hanging fruit and you know it. Naruto crossed his fingers. Don't care. Poof. A neat 3 dozen shadow clones materialized behind him with a rush of smoke. Junior's broom clattered to the floor. His jaw looked fit to fall with it. You. What the hell? What was that about an army? Faced with such awe, Naruto couldn't help but preen a little. Look, I'm willing to bargain. I'll lend you these guys as a cleanup crew if you let me stay here tonight. I need somewhere to rest my head, you know. Junior recovered so fast he nearly gave himself whiplash. Strangely enough, he didn't sense any negative intent from the man. He seemed eager to please. Almost too eager. Fine, you can stay in the attic with the twins. But just for tonight. I'll be gone by morning. He beamed. Scout's honor. We'll see about that. Melanie. Miltia. Someone latched onto his arm. Naruto looked down, only mild surprise to find the twins from before. Oh, hey. It's you too. He beamed back at them. Sorry about the mess earlier. I'll help you clean it up, I swear. Miltia regarded with intently. We'll hold you to that. Melanie pulled him closer. You must be tired. Why don't we show you to your room? Got anything to eat? Their grins were nothing short of smug. Trust us, there's plenty inside. They didn't look half bad now that they weren't sneering at him or trying to lop his head off. Witaminate. If he didn't know better he could have sworn they were eager to please him. Why? Were they afraid? Nah. Couldn't be that. He was a good guy. Nothing to be afraid of here. Nope. Not a thing. He swayed on his feet. Right, he was definitely still a little tipsy after all. But maybe that wasn't so bad. Twins, huh? He laughed. Could be worse. With a shrug, Naruto let them lead him upstairs. Naruto awoke in a warm bed. That wasn't much of a concern on the wayward warrior's part. If only because the covers were soft, red, and he wasn't yet dead. Just satisfyingly sore. Strange, but he'd both seen and lived through far worse in his day, so again, not much of a problem on that front. So what if he didn't recognize the ceiling? So what if his mouth was drier than a desert? He had slept in stranger places than this. Maybe he hadn't been that drunk after all. Everything was fine. Just sit up and. The stakes were made. His skull protested violently the moment he tried to move. A bolt of white hot light lancing through the back of his head with such force that he found himself crashing back down to the pillows. Blue eyes slammed shut as he groaned. Nope. Screw this. Hangovers sucked. He immediately decided he wasn't having any of it. Never drinking again. Oh. Did anyone get the number of that bus? At least I think it was a bus. And where are my clothes? He rose with a groan, eyes still blurry, and his hand fell upon something soft. A pillow. He pushed off it to steady himself. Thoughtlessly, his fingers squeezed. Someone moaned. Naruto looked down and had something of an out-of-body experience. In that he heard himself gasp. Saw the dark-haired young woman spooned against his right arm. Saw another tucked into his left with her head upon his chest. Saw their state of undress and knew instantly that it mirrored his own. Neither wore so much as a stitch of clothing. One of them had their legs twined with his. Blue eyes bulged. You have got to be kidding me. Twitching fingers removed themselves from the girl's chest. Slowly. Very slowly. Instinct nearly had him cry out like a fool. Shouting and squawking and squalling as he demanded answers. It was only an ironclad sense of self-preservation that stomped him. He stomped that urge into oblivion. To speak was to die. They were the both of them sound asleep, and he had the strangest feeling they wouldn't take kindly to being woken in such a fashion. Oh, I get it. He lowered himself back to the pillows with a sigh. I'm still asleep. This is a dream. I'll wake up any second now. Hashirama foiled that fledgling hope with a yawn. What a night. Twins. I was beginning to think you didn't have it in you. Naruto slammed his eyes shut even as his face scrunched up in a scowl. Wait, what? Did I? Yup. He looked down. You mean we? Bingo. Smug fox. You really made those girls scream. His bleary mind struggled to recall anything and was alarmed when he actually succeeded. Soft arms coiling around his neck as her legs wrapped round his waist. Full breasts pushing up against his chest, half-lidded eyes looking longingly up at him as her hips ground against his. Another pair of lips kissing his neck, whispering soft nothings in his ear, begging for her turn and Rishulkadrafinisictulio. Belatedly, he realized he had pinched himself to snap out of it. Once. Twice. Thrice for good measure. Ow. Pain. Well, that happened. No dream this. You didn't feel pain in a dream. He was fairly certain of that, and with that he wasn't sure he wanted to laugh or cry. His first time, and he could barely even recall anything. An almost pleasant soreness confirmed his suspicions. He still didn't dare open his eyes. If only because he was painfully sober and had no idea how to explain a lick of this. Rise and shine, handsome. Someone kissed his neck, sending an electric thrill shooting down his spine. Because now he was very much awake and keenly intimately aware of everything. Of things he hadn't noticed before. The weight of her body, however slight, against his own, her breath warm upon his skin, his own pulse hammering in his veins. Well, time to face the music, then. Blue eyes fluttered open to meet striking jade orbs only a few inches from his own. Huh. Neat. She really did have nice eyes. He vaguely recalled complimenting her on them last night while they fought. She was. Damn it. Naruto fumbled for a name. Last night had been such a blur. It started with an M, hadn't it? Melanie. Right. Her smile told him he'd skirted disaster. Safe. Ooh, so he can tell the difference. She leaned forward and delivered a light to the lips. Extra points. But does he remember mine? Someone took hold of his head and tilted it backward just so. Worm's lips touched his again, but hungrier, her teeth biting at his lip as she withdrew. In short order Naruto found himself gazing at a familiar face, similar to that of Melanie, but different all the same. Her eyes were sharper, her face just a little leaner. Miltia. Her name case easier now than he recalled her twin. That's your name, right? She wrinkled her nose. Boo, you're no fun. Told you he'd remember. Melanie sprawled onto her back. I win the bet. Pay up, sis. You'll get your damn money. Naruto couldn't help but shake his head as they began to bicker. By the sage, twins. How the hell did that happen? Must have been the booze. He couldn't tell if he was damned lucky or this was the first domino in a never-ending series of disasters. Hopefully the former. Surely his luck couldn't be that bad. Twins, for crying out loud. He planted a hand against his forehead. It's entirely too early for this. 11 o'clock, actually. Militia rolled over, propping herself up on his stomach. So I'd say it's pretty damn late. Her sibling stood with languid grace, giving him a show he'd never dreamed of. A green iris taunted him over her shoulder. Unless you're too sore to get up. Hey. He growled at the slight. Don't get snappy. I beat you once already, I can beat you again. Aha. She pivoted with speed and thrust her face against his. Ah, there's the guy from last night. Good to see him again. Drama. Little help here. Well, we're alive. Might as well enjoy it. Simple as they were, those words resonated with him. The second life. His chance to start again. No towering villains, no existential crisis to thwart, no crazy gods. None that he knew of, at any rate. When was the last time he'd lived? No chazzing crazy friends, stopping insane plans or shinobi with a god complex. He'd always been fighting. He was good at fighting, almost as much as he was when it came to talking. What's the harm in it? An insidious little thought crawled into his ear. Why not live a little for now? He let them pull him back to the bed. Time ceased to be. Junior awaited him when he finally stumbled downstairs an hour later. And he was grinning, the smug bastard. Have fun? You. Naruto jabbed a finger against his chest. Not a word. Sure. The bartender, whom he was beginning to suspect was anything but, raised his hand and stepped back with lazy grace. His smirk remained ironclad. Your secret is safe with me. Didn't see a thing. Try as he might, Naruto couldn't help but wary of this man now that morning had come. Although he sensed nothing but positivity from the fellow, he seemed far too cheery for his own good. Hadn't he been mad at him yesterday? He remembered that much. Junior had been nothing short of livid with him after the mess he made. So why the sudden turnaround? It didn't make any sense. What's gotten into you? I'm in a good mood. Your boys did good work. High gesture to the club itself, nearly good as new. We got this place cleaned up in no time at all thanks to them. His mouth twitched. I thought there was a lot less rubble. Oops. That was the hangover talking. Shame he couldn't just cure that too. Alright, High subsided with a frown. You can give as good as you get. I like that. Right, Naruto plunked down on the first intact seat he could find. How long have I been here? Everything's a blur. Just the night. A hand waved. Not that long. The pall of silence pushed itself between the two strangers. Naruto grimaced into it as a thorn of guilt pricked at his bleeding heart. Look, he scratched at the back of his head and looked away. I really am sorry about the bar. Didn't mean to wreck the place. That's on me. Yeah? Junior paused, regarding him with narrow eyes. Big words from a huntsman. His tone was colder than an ice jutsu. I've heard those words before. Forgive me if I take them with a grain of salt. Hey. No, wait, I'm not a huntsman. I squinted at him anew, then looked at him. Really looked at him. In the light of day he must have seen something that he missed last night because he leaned away and took a single step backward. There it was, a touch of wariness now as he remembered just what he was capable of. Naruto didn't like it. He wasn't here to inspire fear. He just wanted to live in this strange new era. You're really not from around here, are ya? This again. He flung up his arms in a fit. I already told you. I've been asleep. Sealed underground for years. Alright. Look, I'll be frank with ya. High set his glass down. If you're not a huntsman, then I don't know what the hell you are. Regardless, I don't want to be your enemy. Another emerged, and he poured a shot of fresh whiskey into it, then summarily slammed it back. Thus fortified by liquid courage, he continued. You're clearly on another level. You made mincemeat of Melanie and Miltia out there. A glance to the stairs, rueful as it was, had him quirking a brow. And they're clearly sweet on you. Naruto felt the tips of his ears burn pink. Among other things. So let's make a deal. A hand entered his field of vision, leaving him to balk down at it. You said it yourself, you know jack shit about this place. The ghost of a smile touched his worn face. I, on the other hand, make it my business to know things. What say we combine forces? I help you with your little problem, you help me with mine. Not sure I like the way you phrased that. I'm no trying to swindle ya, kid. Call it an equivalent exchange. He supposed there was no harm in it. These people couldn't hurt him. He wasn't sure there was anyone here who could if he didn't let them. That wasn't arrogance on his part, of even a threat. It was the truth. One didn't easily would a Jinchuriki, let alone the container of the 10 tails. Still not used to that. Liked it better when I had 9. Don't be a crybaby. What's done is done. Fine. He hazarded a grin. I don't really have anywhere else to go at the moment. First things first, High temporized. We need to get you a scroll. And you have no idea what that is. Naruto shook his head, drawing another sigh from his host. Fine. Me and the girls will get you squared away. Maybe then you can help me with a little problem of mine. His brow drew down. I ain't committing a crime. Not asking you to. The rejoinder was swift. Just hoping you can get rid of some uppity bitch who thinks she owns me and mine. Speaking of which. Just how strong are you? Naruto couldn't quite keep the smile from his face. Strong enough. Why the sudden interest? Who's asking? I gathered that much. High claimed the seat beside him. Is it possible to learn this power? His grin grew. Not from a huntsman. Of course, he wasn't about to simply reawaken chakra for everyone under the sun. Maybe not anyone at all. These people need to earn it. Prove they were worthy of it. He didn't know High or the Malachites well enough to entrust them with such a powerful gift. If they proved themselves to be good, rounded the bend and made something good of their lives, sure. He'd consider it. Until then. Not a chance. Wow, that actually sounded profound. Color me impressed. Though bite your tail, Kurama. The fox laughed, only to subside it as the main door creaked open behind them. "Hello," a low voice crooned. "I do hope I'm not interrupting you too. Damn it. I swore. Speak of the devil and she appears." "Devil who, now?" Naruto followed his gaze and found himself staring a woman cut from sin itself. Long dark hair framed a pale face from which keen golden eyes shone, lurking above a pale smile. Wrapped in a fine red silk dress that hinted at secrets best left unspoken. She moved with poise and purpose, the sway in her hips nothing short of deliberate. She didn't see the twin slipping down the stairs and moving into position behind her. Flanking her. Why would she? Her attention was fixed firmly on him. More fool she. The woman took one look at him and made a beeline for him. Well, we meet at last." Naruto blinked, somewhat taken aback. Do I know you? You're weird." A spark of anger flashed through her face. "I paid your bail, fool." He blinked anew, vaguely recalling last night. "Oh, that was you. Thanks for that. Wait." Naruto's smile became a frown. Negativity. This woman reeked of it. "I think," he continued slowly, "you should tell me who you are." "But of course." Golden eyes flashed, sensing his challenge and rising to it from one predator to another. "I think we can help each other." Help this woman? Unlikely. Still, she hadn't tried to harm him, and she had helped, in a loose sense of the word. Unfortunately for Cinder, she had no idea who she was courting. Poor Cinder. She was not prepared. Ruby Rose tilted her head. Then she tilted it a little more. Nearly 90 degrees now, much to Yang's chagrin. "Hey, sis." She all but heard the confusion in her sibling's voice and prayed for death. "You've got a lot of red marks on you." A pause. "You get into a fight with a briar patch or something." "Or something." Yang whined weakly through her teeth. "Yeah, something like that, Rubes. Is that why you're hiding from dad like a chicken? Not so naive after all, little sister." Meep. Even with her gaze fixed firmly on the mirror, Yang could feel those silver eyes boring into her shoulders. Not from anger or jealousy really, Ruby avoided most people like the plague, to say nothing of boys, but genuine curiosity and concern. Somehow that made it worse. Each hickey was difficult to detect among the countless scrapes and bruises she'd received during her brawl. Unless one knew what to look for. Unless she knew where to look. And she knew. Oh, yes. She knew exactly where to look now. Morning had come, and with it freedom from her cell. Yet not her memories. So many memories. Yang craned her neck, wincing a little as her shoulder protested. Last night was a blur, but what a glorious blur it was. His hands on her, holding her close as kissed her neck while she bit his shoulder. Her fingers fumbling at his jacket as she climbed atop him. His lips on hers as her hips ground against his. Too many clothes, off, she wanted them off, wanted to feel his skin on hers and girl. Yang's face flooded with color as she snapped back to reality. "Stop. Cease. Desist." She slapped her cheeks with both hands until her face stung. "Yang. Kill me." She groaned. "Make it quick. Just smack me on the back of the head and be done with it." And there it was, the crux of all her problems. She remembered him. Naruto. His face. His name. Everything. Sure, copious amounts of alcohol had been involved, but still she'd enjoyed it and… Arg. Yang reared back and slammed her head into both hands, muffling a groan, much to her sister's dismay. Maybe if she just hid under her bed she'd be able to get away from this humiliation. Yup. Sounds grand. No need for beacon or any of that awful nonsense. Nope. Nah. Not happening. Yang considered herself in the mirror and winced anew. Really, there was no hiding the marks on her neck. Or her shoulders. Or her black eye. Not when faced with something like this. Dad was going to kill her when he figured this out. And he would. He always knew. She'd already fobbed him off with the excuse of a shower, but it was impossible to hide all these marks. Or the strange feeling they left behind. For all the chaos they'd caused last night, they'd had one hell of a time. She wanted to see him again. He'd lit a fire in her belly. She wanted that. Her knees twisted to and fro, writhing in thinly anticipation as the ghost of a smile touched her face. Ruby saw it, of course. "You're blushing, sis." She whirled and whipped a pillow at her. "I'm not." Fortunately or unfortunately depending on your point of view the door to their room crashed open and their argument was summarily forgotten. Why, you ask? Because Taeyang Xiaolong stalked in, shotgun in hand. Alright. He beeped it with righteous intent. "Who punched my sunny little dragon? I want names. Who is he and where do I find him?" Yang's face went chalk white. "Daddy, no." Ruby toppled backward with a giggle. This wasn't happening. No, this could not be happening. Because if it was, if this wasn't some fever dream, Cinder needed to reconsider her life choices. She was a master manipulator, able to sway the hearts and minds of men and women alike. All fell to her sooner or later, be it through fear, power, or even base lust. There was only one woman she feared in this world, and Salem was currently a continent away, plotting in her tower. So why? Who was this blonde fool? And why was he utterly at his ease? For the life of her, Cinderfall couldn't figure him out. He was an enigma to her, a puzzle she longed to unravel, yet found herself unequal to the task. Time and time again she tried to bait him into speaking his intentions, or at the very least leverage his debt to her, to no avail. It just didn't seem possible. Anyone capable of fighting a huntress, even one in training, to a standstill, was an asset she could use. Denser than a black hole, this one. Was he deliberately being obtuse? Did he not understand the precarious position he found himself in? No matter what she said, what she tried, what she did, he just didn't seem to get the message. Subtle promises of power. Nope. Riches unimaginable. Didn't want them. An unbelievable night with her. Sailed right over his spiky blonde head. Really, she'd resorted to just about everything short of overt threats, and somehow she didn't think those would faze him any more than her other offers. He seemed content to have thrown his lot in with Junior and the Malachites. A fact the little trio seemed far too smug about. Her gaze met High's behind the bar. Cheeky bastard waved at her. So? He thought he could slip his leash, did he? He would learn. There would be a reckoning for this indignity. She swore. Her scowl redoubled when the mobster didn't flinch. While High had cleverly positioned himself so that this curious young man was between the two of them, she was now well aware of the twins lurking at her back. They thought they had her cornered, did they? It seemed another lesson was in order. Once she put this fool in his place. Nope. The young man said suddenly, snapping her back to reality. I don't think we can help each other after all. You're annoying. The tight knot of anger coiled in Cinder's gut. A serpent snaking through her every thought. Who was this neophyte to speak her in such a way? He looked weak. Yet he spoke to her not as if they were equals, but as if she were beneath him. Lesser. It burned. He wasn't intimidated by her, and while she could respect that, she loathed being looked down upon. It was those eyes. Those damn blue eyes. She cautioned herself. Mustn't lash out. Listen to me, she began anew, gripping the edge of the table with smoldering hands. I am offering you the opportunity to discharge your debt to me. We can both benefit from this. Oh, I am listening. Naruto clicked his tongue once as he reclined in his chair. You see, that's the problem. His smile didn't waver in the least. I don't like what I'm hearing. Or sensing. He sniffed once, as though scenting the air. I don't think you're any friend of mine. Sensing? Whatever was he on about? Was that a semblance of some sort? Cinder, was it? He continued softly, addressing her as one might a wayward child. I've had a rough couple of days. I appreciate you being blunt with me. Really, I do. His smile said otherwise. But right now I am this close, he held his thumb just over his forefinger, to hitting you with a very nasty jutsu. There was a shiver in the air as he spoke the words. So here's what you. A tan finger poked her forehead, drawing a scowl from the woman in question, are going to do for me. His eyes bored into hers like twin daggers. First, he held up a finger, you're going to shut up. Second. Another finger rose to mirror the first. You're going to stand up and turn around. Third. 3 digits now, and there could be no mistaking the bite to his words now, you'll walk your pretty little arse right back out that door. Right now. And if I refuse? Naruto beeped his head and squinted, regarding her a fox might a hare. Something in those gentle blue eyes shifted. Before her very eyes those placid azure orbs became a rimmed shade of violet. Color seemed to bleed from his skin, his flesh gone a pale ghastly gray. But only for a moment. She blinked and it passed, leaving her to wonder if she'd imagined it at all. Had she? Surely her mind was playing tricks on her. You know, you remind me of an old friend. Cinder edged back in her seat. I do. She had a bad feeling about this. Yup. The whiskered warrior leaned forward, steeping his hands to lay his chin atop them. He was pretty arrogant, too. I wonder what he'd think of you. His lips pursed suddenly, and his attention seemed to fall inward. Fair point, Kurama. At least Sasuke had a reason for what he did. Her brow furrowed anew. What in blazes was a Kurama? I'm thinking you should leave. High called from the bar. For your own good. Leave. Golden eyes fluttered in a slow blink. Here at last, her tongue betrayed her. If you think I'm some damsel to be intimidated, you have another thing coming. Right, I tried talking. Baleful blue eyes narrowed upon hers. 1,000 years of death, it is. Cinder slammed to her feet. What is 1,000 years of death? Those words peaked into a startled shriek as something hard slammed into her hindquarters from behind. Pain. Her feet came unstuck from the floor as her head struck the ceiling, and stars burst before her vision. Up became down, and down became ground as the floor rushed up to greet her like an old friend. She struck it at speed and left a decidedly cinder-shaped impression behind. She tried to speak, but only gibberish emerged. Sorry. His smile was pure ice as she sprawled down to the floor. I think I've had enough of you for one day. Someone was laughing at her. Several someones. She couldn't hear them over the roaring in her ears. Cinder climbed her feet. One hand flew to her posterior, face gone red like roses. You dare. Naruto's left leg blurred, upended a table and its drinks alike in her face. Cinder raised an arm to defend herself, scowling at the rapidly spreading stain across her dress. A shadow flitted behind her in the chaos. She saw rather than felt a sudden flicker of movement in her peripheral vision. Just for an instant, a single sliver of a second. And then. Nothing personal, kid. Hot fingers sithed into the side of her neck, caught her by the shoulder, and yanked her back down before she could hope to escape. Do you know why I avoid killing people? His forehead crashed against hers, eyes bold and intent. Because it's easy. Brock. He rammed a knee into their torso. Ribs shattered like brittle glass as she hurtled through a wall. Once you've started, it's hard to stop. Crunch. 5 firm fingers slammed into Cinder's throat, turning her reply to a raspy croak. She wheezed and stumbled away, gasping for air that wouldn't come. Fire flickered at her fingertips and was summarily snuffed out as his hand closed around hers. Bone didn't just break. It absolutely splintered. She grit her teeth around a scream, only for an open palm to strike her across the face and send her sprawling once more. I've seen so many people die. So many. Somewhere in the background, a scroll clicked. She was too busy snarling into the floor to hear it. Congratulations. A shadow fell over her and she looked up, squinting around her rapidly swelling visage. I'm angry. Haven't felt that in a while. Bye now. A hand reached down for her. Have a timeout, think about what you've done. And don't come back. This couldn't be happening. She was Cinderfall. She had a destiny. This could not be that destiny. Could it? In all fairness, Cinder tried to crawl away. He caught her by a leg and hurled her face through the double doors, back the way she'd come. Something crunched in her face. Blood spattered. It felt disturbingly like her nose. Her world went black as sleep took her. She struck the street, bounced once, and lay still with a faint groan. Mercifully, she was quite unconscious when someone whipped out a broom and pushed her out of sight. Several scrolls began to click as she was dragged away, persevering the moment forever. Naruto clapped his hands. All done. She won't bother you now. Junior whistled, low and sharp. Holly hell. Holy shit. Melanie hissed. I think I want that. Miltia could only nod numbly. Want that. That was hers. Miles away. Yang Xiaolong sneezed. Why do I get the feeling someone just declared war? Miltia found her voice first. Tell me you recorded that beating. Ha. Melanie crowed. Every damn bit of it, sis. She'll never work in this town again. Naruto's head whipped left and right as the entire club howled with laughter, heaving from side to side with mirth. He basked in it, not quite comprehending why he was receiving such adulation, only that everyone seemed inordinately pleased with him for reasons he didn't understand. Even after all these years, centuries spent asleep, it still felt pretty damn good to hear people cheer him on. Now if he could just figure out why. Don't look at me. Humans are weird. He scratched the back of his head. Too much. Not at all. Melanie couldn't stop laughing. That was priceless. Miltia doubled over, whipping a tear from her eye. How did you even do that? Was that a rhetorical question? Well, it was pretty simple. She wasn't that strong really MMPH. Melanie dragged him in for a wild kiss that turned his thoughts to pudding. Her tongue tangled with his for all of a moment. His brain fizzled. Not that strong. She pulled back with a cross look, tried to shake him by the shoulders, realized she wasn't tall enough, and settled for his arms instead. She cleaned our clocks when we stood up to her. But you. Mwah. She dragged his head down and welded her lips to his yet again, stealing his breath away. You got that bitch good. Tell me how you did it. Wha? Wha, he says. Melita rolled her eyes as she guided him down into a chair and plunked down into his lap. I think you broke him. Ain't nothing wrong with that. I'll say. Junior clapped him on the back, his chin, looking on with a smirk of his own. Might have been a mistake to leave her alive, though. His gaze flicked back to the doors, lingering. I could have someone finish what you started. Just like that, his pleasant high came to an abrupt end. Why were they answering to him? No. He bit off the word. I think you're making a mistake, kid. Something hardened in Naruto's heart at those words. The last of his mirth drained out of him. It was so easy to end a life. Too easy. Maybe it would have been better in the long run to simply kill that woman. Maybe not. Who could say? Not him. He believed in second chances. Whomever that Cinder woman was, she'd learn from this. Hopefully it would help her become a better person. Kurama disagreed. I would have eaten her. No. He repeated. Let her go. She's learned her lesson. If she hasn't, I'll deal with her. You sure? You know what they say, Junior slid a drink his way. The only good enemy is a dead enemy. Nope. He fumbled for it, knocked it back and smacked his lips with an audible pop, cutting the gangster short. Not true. Wha? It means no. Naruto chirruped, slamming his now empty glass upon the table. Try it sometime. What I'm saying is, out of everyone I fought, most of them ended up being my friend by the end. Technically true. After all, Madara and Kagaya didn't count. They'd been too batshit crazy by the end. 9 times out of 10 a good beating or a good talking set most people to rights. Usually both. Who knows? She might be a friend someday. Junior glanced back at the doors. Kid, that's a pretty twisted idea of friendship. Hey. That's the first time I used 1,000 years of death on anyone. Cut me some slack. And besides, here his brow furrowed, if I went by your logic, the 3 of you would already be dead. They clammed up. He hadn't meant that as a threat, but they'd mistaken it for one. So many misunderstandings. Fair point. Miltia muttered. Let's not do that. Naruto offered a self-same smile and a shrug. Really, if he went around killing anyone and everyone who looked at him sideways, the world would be a barren and empty place. He didn't want that. This second life was his to live, and he intended to live it to the fullest while he could. Future or no, he wanted to savor it. Savor it, he says, bullshit I say. You just want to be lazy this time around. Boy. I've earned a vacation. In any case, Melanie shoot her sister off his lap, you might want to get out of here for a bit. Wha? Naruto sulked. You're kicking me out. Why? As though to answer that very question, part of the ceiling, the very portion he'd slammed Cinder into, came crashing down. Naruto winced, then flinched again when a wall crumbled. Alright. He could repair that. And oh, there went another wall. And a bit more of the ceiling. Melanie planted a hand on her hip. We've got some cleaning to do. Go take a walk. With a put upon sigh, the last shinobi dragged himself from the chair. Oh. Cinder fell in the gutter, her pride in tatters. Each breath served as a sullen reminder of just how badly she'd been beaten, of how she had been broken. This wasn't over. It wasn't as if she'd enjoyed being dominated. Had she? No. Certainly not. Why did she have the strangest feeling she was forgetting something? Neo bounced in place. Actually bounced, as in hopped up and down like some crazy kangaroo. Roman quirked a brow at her. He'd never seen the like before. Alright, I'll bite. What's gotten into you? She shoved a picture at him. Or rather, her scroll. Roman took it from her hands and blinked at it. Once. Twice. Thrice. Something from Junior. Why would that crafty bastard bother to send him anything? And what was that message tagged there at the bottom? Watch this. Well, that wasn't ominous at all. As luck would have it, this wasn't a picture, but a video. He pressed play, wincing a little at the choppy footage that followed the massacre that came with it. And its unfortunate dark-haired star. His cigar fell from parted lips to clatter harmlessly to the floor. He scrubbed at his eyes with the back of a hand, unable to believe what he was seeing. Look again. His brain gave a cry. They can't be real. We are, said his eyes. It is. And he laughed. Just like that, the day was his. Laughter staggered out of the door after Naruto as he slipped out onto the sidewalk. He couldn't help but chuckle at it. Admittedly, he found himself at something of a loss. Where should he go? What should he do? Find a place to stay, perhaps. What was that saying? The world was his oyster. Something along those lines. He could go anywhere, do whatever he wanted, see the sights, savor the sounds. With what money? Kurama chimed. No, pretty sure you're stuck in the club for now. Damn you and your sense. It's what I do. In the end, he simply let his feet carry him. The streets of Vale were heaving with life, veritable rivers of people on the sidewalks and crossways besides. Her streets were clean yet even, lending his gait a spring in his step. He took a moment to admire the view as he went about his business, all the while trying not to gawk at the looming stone and brick edifices around him. Strange metal boxes whisked by on the road, fascinating hum further. So many houses. Buildings, 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 as far as the eye could see. Amazing. It put his village to shame, even if only in sheer quantity. He spied misty spires in the distance and recalled Yang's words. That must be Beacon. His mind contemplated wandering that way for a moment before he thought better of it. Nah. Not interested. Maybe this really wouldn't be so bad after all. He missed a step as something or perhaps someone bounced off his chest. He reached out and caught them by the wrist before he could fall. A startled help greeted him. Whomever they were, they must have been tall. Because he ended up headbutting them by accident. He'd been so absorbed in his thoughts that he never once thought to look where he was going until it was too late. Sorry about that. Someone sniffled. It's alright. A pair of rabbit ears caught his eye. He looked down at them. No. Her. Frowned. Who are you? No, wait, he scowled now as he beheld her teary eyes. Were you crying? Isn't it remarkable? That one man can have all the power in the world and yet the tears of a single Franus can sway his thoughts. Some might say that made Naruto soft. That to take time out of his day, his vacation. Simply to address the misery of a single girl made him weak. Someone who claimed to be on vacation certainly shouldn't have concerned themselves with the plight of a single girl. But then again, she wasn't just a girl now, was she? Her name was Velvet. Not a bad name, Naruto thought to himself as the girl finished her tale. Really, it suited her. She must have been at her absolute wit's end at that. Because once he got her sat down on a park bench, she was perfectly willing to tell him her woes. Velvet told him everything. All of it, every bit. To him. A perfect stranger. Moreover, she'd accidentally named the cause of her woes. Kurama jabbed him. You really are too trusting. She's more dangerous than she looks. Hey, be nice. She's clearly had a bad day. Since when did you get so snarky? Can't help it. I'm a fox, she's a rabbit. Be mindful. He found it hard to believe Velvet had some steel under all those tears, but if Kurama said she did, then certainly did. His gaze flicked over her for a moment, idly noting lean muscles, the faint calluses on her hands, the balanced way she sat, ready to spring upright at a moment's notice. Huh, neat. Maybe not so defenseless after all. But she was looking at him now with those great big eyes and hers, and he must attend. So, he scowled, this guy that's been bothering you. His name's Cardin Winchester. Velvet's long ears drooped atop her head. Yes. He's been bothering me for at least a week now. And this guy goes to Beacon with ya. A knot of anger coiled in his stomach. You said you're a year above him. Why not fight back? It's complicated. She kicked one foot against the ground. If I stand up to him, he'll just pick on someone even weaker. They might not be able to fight back. Naruto snorted. That's no reason to suffer. Even so, it's my choices. It's just, she sniffled a little, difficult sometimes. There were so many ways he could handle this Winchester fellow. Naruto knew many. A number of which involved murder. Beautiful, gratuitous, bloody red murder. Reluctantly, he decided against that. Death was final. You didn't learn from death. Well, unless you were resurrected, but he very much doubted that was a thing this far in the future. No, he decided, Cardin Winchester deserved a full course of misery and maybe 1,000 years of death besides. And so he made a plan. Tell me what he looks like. Velvet leaned back a little. Why? No reason. His smile was all teeth. It's not like I want to talk to him or anything. Loudly. Repeatedly. With my fists. Naruto, no. Naruto, yes. He grabbed her by the shoulders, trapping her before she could bolt. Tell me about him. And his friends. Spare no detail. And then Velvet capitulated. Surprisingly, she had a photographic memory. Just as before, she spilled the beans. She even had a picture of him on her scroll. One she'd no doubt been forced to take as he yanked on her ears. Real burly fellow, this Cardin Winchester. Naruto disliked him at first sight. His teammates didn't make a favorable impression, either. Alright, Velvet. He released her, still smiling fit to kill. I'm going to solve your little bully problem. She wrinkled her nose. I already told you. Just shut up and accept my goodwill. He flicked her forehead, cutting her short. When I'm done with him, he'll never bully anyone ever again. Her brow furrowed at that, not quite liking his tone. You're not going to kill him, are you? Nope. He thumped a fist against his chest. Scout's honor. I won't kill him. One ear drooped. Or maim him. He'll be able to walk. Mostly. She swatted his arm. I take it back. Kurama chortled softly. This girl's quick on the uptake once you get her to open up. She'll do. Do for what? He didn't much understand what his partner was after. In the end he chose not to ask after it. Ignorance was bliss after all. You're really going to do this, aren't you? Velvet looked away, wringing her hands. I don't suppose there's anything I can say to change your mind. Not a chance. Nothing could sway him now. Nope. But why? We barely know one another. Well, you know my name, don't you? He countered. Those doe-like eyes blinked once, not quite comprehending. Yes. And I know yours. He patted her head, careful not to hurt her ears. That makes us friends. As fellow Franus. No idea what one of those was. Maybe it was a nickname or something. Sure, let's go with that. Heh. A tiny giggle escaped Velvet as the ghost of a smile touched her face. You have a strange definition of friendship, Naruto. What can I say? He shrugged. I like helping people. Although. And it was true. So was what followed. I hate bullies. Meep. Her ears stood ramrod straight. Perhaps if Naruto could see his reflection in that moment, he would have realized just how terrible he appeared to those who crossed him. but he didn't. He didn't even notice when his carefully crafted transformation slipped a little, giving her a glimpse of his pale skin and the truth-seeking orbs manifesting at his back. As such, he found himself somewhat surprised when Velvet held her scroll out to him. "Here." She stammered out, lips framing a tremulous smile. "You can have my number. Let me know how it goes." He winced. Really don't have one of those. A scroll, I mean." Velvet tilted her head, misunderstanding. "Did yours break?" "Roll with it." Hadn't Junior said something about getting him a burner scroll? Whatever the heck a burner was. The future was weird. "Here, I think I've got a pen and paper on me." When he didn't answer, she fumbled in her pouch for just that and scribbled something down, only to hesitate. Her eyes flitted over his shoulder, tracking the truth-seeking orbs there. The same orbs he had accidentally summoned when his temper reared its ugly head. "Those fears. Would you mind if I took a picture of them?" These things." He used a truth-seeking orb to form his staff once more. "Sure. Why not?" "Thank you." Velvet's grin was brighter than sunshine itself. It made him want to protect that smile. So that's the long and short of it. I was, understandably, rather cross with him. "You want to raid Beacon?" Of all the bone-headed ideas. No. Naruto leaned back in his chair and held up a finger to stifle Junior's protest. "I'm going to infiltrate Beacon. There's a difference." He flicked 2 fingers, to which Hai passed him another shot glass. Strange thought it might be, he was beginning to develop a taste for whiskey. "I'm letting you know as a courtesy," he knocked it back, grimacing as it burned his throat. "So you don't wonder where I am tonight." "All this over some blasted bunny?" Miltia scoffed. "I don't get it." "You had to be there." Naruto caught another glass and downed that as well. She was a pure soul. Melanie crossed her arms, either unwilling or unable to let him wriggle out of this. "You're seriously going to attend Beacon? For her?" Naruto nearly choked on his drink. "What?" Now it was his turn to recoil. "No. What gave you that idea?" "You said infiltrate." Melanie raised a finger and jabbed his chest. "That implies a long stay or going undercover at the very least. It's only for a night." He flung up his arms before she could continue to play devil's advocate. "And for a prank, no less. I've spent 1 lifetime in school already. I ain't about to do it again." Honestly, Beacon had nothing to teach him. Nothing he wanted to learn at any rate. He'd been given a second chance at life after sealing himself away for so long. The way he saw it, this was just a spot of work. Yeah, he liked the sound of that. Just a brief little jaunt to stretch his legs. Nothing more, nothing less. The Winchesters are a powerful family. Hai's voice tugged him back to reality, spurring him to look up. They have connections. If you mess with one of them. "Oh, a crime family." I'm quaking in my non-existent boots. Miltia nudged Naruto before he could respond, drawing his attention to her once more. "Want us to come with? You're pretty tough, but that's hell you're walking into." Melanie took hold of his other arm. "Might as well have some backup, eh?" It was tempting. Very tempting. They'd make for useful distractions at the very least. Until they were seen. Now, Naruto might be a bit out of touch, but he was still fairly certain breaking into a school counted as a crime. If either of the twins were caught on campus, Hai would be implicated. Police would descend upon the club en masse. Everything would be searched from top to bottom. He might even lose his bar license. That was no way to repay the hospitality he'd been given. But a lone shinobi, a veritable master of disguise who could change his appearance at the drop of a hat. Well, no one would know what to make of that. In the end, the Jinchuriki chose the road less traveled. "Are either of you particularly stealthy?" Melanie opened her mouth to protest. And closed it. Miltia mirrored her sister. Junior snorted. "Elephants are more subtle than these two." Melanie kicked his ankle. "Jerk. We can be quiet when we want to be." "Well, that decided things, didn't it?" "No," Naruto shook his head at the last, "this is something I need to do myself. I'll be back by morning." They sulked a little. He couldn't help but feel guilty at that. "It's not like I'm running away." On a whim he reached in with both arms and pulled them into a crushing hug. "Like I said, I'll be back." Melanie kissed his cheek. "You'd better be." Miltia was less subtle, hand trailing across his chest. "Morning, got it. You'd better be back by sunrise or we'll come looking for you." Naruto restrained a small smile. He very much doubted either of them were strong enough to go toe-to-toe with a proper huntress, but he appreciated the sentiment. Maybe these two weren't so bad after all. They had spirit if nothing else. Nothing wrong with a little fire in your belly. "You're actually serious." Junior set another bottle down. "Why do this?" "It's nothing special, really." He pulled away with a scowl. "This punk made my new friend cry. So he's gotta pay." "Oh." Melanie and Miltia exchanged a bemused between themselves. "Boy." Naruto saw it and scowled. "What's that look for?" I can't do something nice. Whatever you say, boss. Here. Hai handed him a black rectangular device. The scroll I promised you. I pulled a few strings. Try not to break it. Naruto held it away from himself as one might an explosive. He turned it over in his hands. Upside down, now. His finger brushed a button and the screen flashed to life, filling his vision with a sea of symbols and odd little widgets he couldn't comprehend. What manner of jutsu was this? Pleading eyes turned upon Melanie and Miltia. I have no idea how to use this thing. The twins sighed in unison. Leave it here. You disappoint me, Cinder. I thought you were strong. Those words doomed her. Damned her thrice. Cinder kept her gaze fixed on the floor. My queen, if you'd let me explain. There is nothing to explain, save your failure. Salem frowned through the seer. If you cannot handle one interloper, perhaps you're not worthy to be the maiden after all. Even now she could feel the full weight of the Dark Queen's gaze upon her. It pressed down like a physical presence, the manifest displeasure of a disappointed parent. She wasn't even in this room, not in the physical sense of the word, yet her ire threatened to choke the very life from Cinder's lungs. She could only glare at the floor and pray it will pass. Do not fail me in this. The seer fell silent with a dull rasp. The moment it did, Cinder smashed a fist into the floor. Golden eyes burned with frustrated tears. Damn him. Naruto Uzumaki wasn't a particularly vengeful individual. At the end of the day, he'd much rather talk his foes down. Reason with an adversary, you know. He'd done so many a time before and likely would hence. His heart was slow to anger, reluctant to wrath, but once roused, his fury was nothing short of legendary. Just ask any of his enemies. You see, there's some things you just didn't do. Taking candy from a baby. Come on. That was just mean. Bullying a bunny? Not a good idea. Really. It wasn't. Pissing off a prankster? Death wish. That said, Beacon security was surprisingly lax for a hunter academy. No one noticed a masked man in a dark garments walking up the rugged cliffs of the Emerald Forest at dead of night. None challenged this cloaked individual as he slipped into the campus proper, wrenched open a door, and ghosted down the halls. Not a soul could see his face, for there was no face to see. His whiskered visage was hidden behind a facade of swirling orange ceramic, his hair likewise tucked deep into the cowl of his cloak, all but denying any chance of proper identification. And if he whistled to himself a little while he worked, well, no one noticed. He went about his work, slapping seals here and there in the halls, concealing some with judicious applications of chakra, leaving others to be seen. After all, better for them to find the fakes than to discover the real ones. Was this how Obito felt when he pretended to be Toby? Making mischief was rather fun. More than once he saw a camera. Those he disabled one by one, careful to remain unseen. No guards appeared to challenge his sabotage. No alarms wailed, no traps were triggered, no voices raised. Naruto went about his work utterly unmolested. This was the place Yang had spoken so highly of. These were the future protectors of this world. It was almost sad, really. HRMMPH. The world used to be a bigger place, with bigger people. The world's still the same, Kurama. Naruto murmured mentally as he disabled another camera. There's just less in it. And these brats are supposed to protect it. I'm starting to fear for the safety of this world. Now, that's not our problem. Hardin wasn't hard to find by that regard. Even in sleep he burned with negative thoughts, making him a veritable beacon amongst. Well, beacon. Heh. Naruto held back a tiny chuckle as he skirted another camera. Maybe there's something to these puns after all. That was a horrible joke and you should feel bad. Yang would like it. He sulked. Which goes to show how bad it is. Mustn't laugh. He'd give himself away. He found Team CRDL's dorm in short order. It was there that he encountered his first real form of resistance. The door was fitted with an electronic lock of some sort, impossible to pick. Unfortunately the same couldn't be said for the handle. A quick twist broke the latch and gained him entry. From there he slipped inside and sealed the door behind him. Ugh. He immediately pinched his nose. Reeks in here. The first thing that hit him was the smell. Cardin's dorm smelled exactly like what one would expect of a small room populated by 4 teenage boys. Sweaty socks and dirty laundry. Lots of it. Mastering his rising gorge, he spied 4 beds within, one to each corner in the gloom, visible in the waning light of the shattered room. Each held a sleeping student within. A perfunctory glance confirmed the identities of his soon-to-be victims. Naruto bit his lip and crept closer, stifling a snicker as he did. Even then his shoulders quivered in quiet mirth. This was going to be glorious. He had deliberated long and hard on CRDL's fate. Some ideas were too small. Others too grand. Still more would paint Velvet in a bad light. In the end, he'd hit upon a brilliant idea. Sometimes the best pranks were the simplest ones. He began with a simple silencing jutsu, one every shinobi learned to muffle noise. His expanded yet further, a faint shimmer of blur light brimming outward from his body. It coated the walls, floor and ceiling, saturating the room with cloying pressure. A faint pop in his ears confirmed the jutsu's activation. He'd still be able to hear just fine, but so long as the jutsu remained every aspect of sound would be muted to those without. From there he stowed his mask and cloak, then crossed his fingers. 3 silent plumes of smoke answered him as 3 shadow clones were born. He waved them to the beds. At the end of the day, Naruto was still a ninja. He might be brash and loud, but his training remained. Next he placed his hands together, fingers and palms firmly pressed to one another. From there he pulled them apart again, creating golden glowing lengths of heavily barbed chakra chains between him. The irony wasn't lost on him. This was Kushina's jutsu, his birthright, only unlocked once Kurama had ascended to 10 tails and empowered him yet further. He really didn't use them as often as he should. Now he was using them for a prank. He wondered if Mom would approve. With a grim chuckle, he passed a bit of the chain to each of his clones, then more still after he considered the sheer strength the hunter possessed. The chances of these 4 being even remotely close to Yang's strength were minute at best, but it paid to err on the side of caution. He wasn't taking any chances. Better safe than sorry. Each of them went about their task without fail. First, they placed each boy under a heavy gain jutsu to keep them asleep until they were ready. Nothing would wake them now unless he willed it. Then the chains came back out with intent. One by one, the boys of CRDL were bound. Their arms, legs, even their eyes and mouths. All save Carden, who was spared both the blindfold and the gag. He could have done him the same as he did the others. Yet he chose not to. You see, it wasn't enough to simply scare Carden and his boys. Velvet was right. Once he realized she was no base bunny to be pushed around, he'd move on to another victim. And so the cycle would repeat. Unless one were to pull it out at the root. He needed to terrify them. Put on an act so convincing, so frightful, that Carden wouldn't even think of harming Velvet or anyone else. This way nobody got hurt, poor Velvet got some peace, and everyone was happy. Well, everyone save Team CRDL. They wouldn't be happy at all after tonight. But really, they were throwaway characters. Screw 'em. Their task complete, his clones saluted once and dispelled themselves. Naruto did the same and formed a different seal with his hands. Not for more clones, but something else entirely. To think, this had once been his weakest jutsu as a genin. Now, you could do all sorts of fascinating things with enough time and chakra control. He'd had plenty of the both before he sealed himself away. Right, then. He muttered to himself. Here we go. The silent plume of smoke heralded the jutsu, wafting out the window with nary a sound. Had anyone been awake to witness it, they would have been quite confused. For a bemused bunny stood in his place. To the untrained eye Naruto Uzumaki looked exactly like Velvet Scarlatina. Yet there were subtle differences. His stance was all wrong, his balance off, and the light in his eyes just a little too bright to be natural. It wasn't perfect by any means or measure, but it would do. Smiling in a way Velvet Scarlatina never would, Naruto bounced once in place, then pivoted to face his prey. He immediately grimaced, rubbing one shoulder and grimaced at the added weight there. "Back, my back," he swore. His voice was soft now, for it wasn't his own. He'd been quite thorough. How do girls live with these things? You're the one who wanted to do this. Deal with it. Carden snorted in his sleep. Velvet scowled. Think that's funny, do you? Let's see how you like this. A snap of his fingers dispelled the gain jutsu. One by one, the boys of CRDL began to stir. Naruto didn't give them a chance to. He reared back and gave Carden a good hard smack across the face. The bully jerked awake with a gasp. To be fair, he had good instincts. His body reacted immediately and thrashed against his chains with a grunt, muscles straining, back arching, to no avail. One does not simply break shackles forged by the 10 tails. Carden gave a fair attempt. For a rookie. Face red, chest heaving, he finally subsided, if only for a moment. Wide, furious eyes glared up at him. Naruto quirked a brow through the disguise. Are you done? Are you done? Red. Carden's world was red, filled with frothing fury. He wanted to reach out and throttle the woman looming over him. Instead he struggled and strained against the shackles like a helpless animal, unable to do anything but flail. His arms failed him. His legs failed him. Here at last, even his breath failed him, leaving him to slump back to the bed, puffing furiously. That damn bunny bitch. He'd get her for this. How did you get in here? Ah. Velvet wagged a finger at him. That's for me to know. You think you can make a fool of me? In my own dorm. Spittle flecked at his lips as he raged at her. You're dead, bunny. Dead. She tilted her head. Am I, now? I don't feel dead. There was something wrong with her smile. It was sharper somehow. Not at all like the weakling he knew. Had he been in right mind, Carden might have noticed it. But right now he wasn't in his right mind. Anger clouded his judgment, wrath rode him down, craving revenge. He didn't even stop to consider why she might be doing this, that this might actually be his fault. Nope. Not once. As far as he was concerned, he was the wrong party here. Not here. He was Carden Winchester, of the Winchester family. He was powerful. He had connections. His father was a legend. Now, then. Velvet leaned down, eyes burning in the moonlight. There was a knife in her hand. Where to start? Oh, yes. She cooed. I think I'll start with your ears. After all, you seemed so fond of mine. Carden recoiled. Or maybe not the ears, she hummed. Perhaps we should start with your tongue. You don't mind, do you? Panic mounted as realization dawned. Dove. Russell. Carden cried. Sky. Get this bitch. Muffled cries came from their bunks. Bound shapes thrashed there, to no avail. Craning his neck, Carden saw the fate of his team. Bound and gagged, they wailed in terror. Eyes. Velvet beamed at him, eyes gone half-lit at WTH glee. Doesn't feel so good, does it? To be the bullied, rather than the bully. Carden spat in her face, cutting her short. Wait till I get out of this. He thrashed mightily. You'll rue the day you were born. The spark of anger slipped through Velvet's smile. See. This is why I hate bullies. She wiped it away with a sigh, considering him like a giant might an ant. No originality. You're the worst. I was trying to do a bit there. But no. Velvet's hand cracked across lap, snapped his head to the right. Pant. Carden gagged as heel palm smashed into his chin. You. A rousing roundhouse sent teeth whistling through the air. Just. He choked as his nose broke, retching on blood. Play. Her fist closed around his hair and yanked him into a headbutt, badly bruising his right eye. Long. Carden lay there, wasted and gasping for air, struggling to breath through his ruined mouth. Oh gods. His trousers were wet. He'd soiled himself. A dying spark of pride had him trying to rise again, only for a taut fist to slam into his windpipe, taking the last of his air from him. You're not her. He wheezed, trying to crawl away in his cot. You can't be. You can't. Oh, but I am. I don't want to see you again, Carden. She reached down, squeezing his ruined face in hand. I don't even want to so much as perceive you. Her forehead kissed his, eyes bright as sapphire gemstones, a ghastly burning that threatened to swallow his soul. If you breathe a word of this to anyone, if I see you bullying anyone else, I'll break your legs. Do you understand? He nodded. And Carden. Here at last she paused, scowling down at him like the bloody bunny she was. If I can get to you in your own dorm, I can get to you anywhere. Remember that. She touched a hand to his forehead and sleep took him. His mind bleeded as he slipped back into the black. Never again. He'd never go near her again. Not her or another Franus. Never. Might have overdone it a little. Naruto dispelled the transformation jutsu and considered his handiwork. Carden was too proud to admit he'd been thrashed by a girl. Even if he wasn't, the terror he'd instilled tonight wouldn't be so easily forgotten. Still, he'd managed to hold back for the most part. Carden had only lost a few teeth. That was a good thing, wasn't it? Naruto donned his mask, wrapped himself in his cloak once more, and made for the window. He paused at the edge, considered Carden's prone form for a moment. Then he started taking pictures. The end. Alright, that's it for today's video guys. Let me know in the comments section how was the story, and also don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Bye bye.